What's up, Hockey Talk Show fans? It is time for another Hockey Talk Show quick hit. Not doing a live show tonight for a couple of reasons. Quickly, Facebook and YouTube, as they distribute your content, like it's good to every now and then just upload something as opposed to live streaming all the time. So that's the major reason why. We'll be back to live shows probably tomorrow. And the other reason is there's not really all that much news going on. A couple things, and we'll give it to you here in this quick hit style. First, let's go here with my man Patrick Laine. Patrick Laine about to set an NHL record for points in consecutive games by a teenager. That's too close for me. Okay, back to Patrick Laine. By a teenager. We forget that this guy, beard and all, is just a teenager. 14-game point streak up for grabs. Chicago has 6 wins in their past 20. I think Laine lights it up tonight. For the Winnipeg Jets, who are just cruising into a playoff spot and looking really good. Patrick Laine, you forget that this kid is a teenager, but he is, and he's lighting it up. And the race between him and Ovechkin is fun to watch and going to be super fun to watch down the stretch for all hockey fans. Carey Price is practicing with the Habs, which is good news for Habs fans. That's going to be great. Phil Kessel, we're going to get into, obviously, the subject of this video is Susan Sarandon. We're going to get into her. She's magnificent. But Phil Kessel was a part of the broadcast last night on NBC, and they captured this little image. Here's what I love about Phil Kessel so much. He just looks like an out-of-work school bus driver, right? And I feel like this is a little unfair to school bus drivers. Not to say that you're not pretty, school bus driver. There's plenty of pretty school bus drivers, but he's like an out-of-work school bus driver or, stonemason, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is. He just does not look like a hockey player. Not whatsoever. He has the fattest face for a guy who skates as fast as he does. Really, I mean, you look at his face and you're just like, that. I look at this face and I go, I wish this guy wouldn't be such an abusive husband. That's what I see when I look at this face. I don't look at him and go, that guy probably scores a lot of goals and skates really fast in the National Hockey League. I just don't. If I saw this face on the streets of Manhattan, I would try and put change in his coffee cup. I honestly, to God, I really, really would. There's something, when he was put together, his face did not match his body. Not whatsoever. It's really bizarre. It's really, really bizarre. He just has this fattest, most awful, struggling out of work salesman face I've ever seen. It's terrible, and I cannot believe that this guy skates like lightning and literally goes bar down whenever he friggin' feels like it and wins Stanley Cup championships. I just can't believe it. But that photo is circulating the world of hockey today, and wanted to bring it up to you quickly here. Here's another one to talk about. Look at those two. Match made in heaven right there, right? Susan Sarandon and Pierre Maguire. We were on late last night when this was happening on NBC. Liz let me know that, Susan Sarandon was on. I could not wait to watch it. I'm so obsessed with Susan Sarandon that I actually watched the highlights of this. That just goes to show you how big of a loser your old pal Ann is. But I thought she did a phenomenal job. Now, all things considering, just so you guys know, there's this SuperFan program in the National Hockey League where celebrities will do blogs and they'll make guest appearances like Susan did. I've never seen anybody go behind the bench or in between the benches like this before, so that was special. I'm fairly certain, 99% sure, that these guys are paid to do this. These are all paid endorsements. It just seems to make sense. They're hardcore hockey fans, don't get me wrong. They're Susan Sarandon has season tickets for the Rangers. She's there all the time. But I'm fairly certain that she was paid for this appearance. But I don't want it to diminish anything. Look, endorsements are a part of public life, okay? I endorse plenty of things, not as much as Susan Sarandon does. But there are certainly things that I get paid to talk about and to experience. It does happen. It doesn't make it any less genuine. You just got to be honest with it. If they were in there paying, I don't know, Gail Gadot. Gadot is it Gadot? If they were paying Wonder Woman, and she could care less about hockey, that would be disingenuous. But you get a hockey fan, it's good for them, it's good for you. You do it. So I watched most of it. I thought it was great. I thought, you know, a couple of like wishy-washy parts during the intermission report. I think it was Liam McHugh asked her something about Henrik Lundqvist, and she didn't seem to have any idea who Henrik Lundqvist was. So I found that kind of hilarious. And to back that up even further, she was like harkening back to the Mark Messier days a lot. So I think she was super into the team, in 94, 95, and then has like been kind of following along, but maybe doesn't know all the new players. They did show one segment when she tweeted a photo about to Jimmy Vesey about Vesey Street. I call it Vesey Street, but I think we pronounce his name Vesey. To try and get him to come here when he was a free agent, and she, you know, carefully answered Pierre Maguire when he was asked, like, "Oh, did you help recruit him?" And she was like, "Well, did it work? I came here." There's something very sexy about Susan Sarandon. She has a very seductive way of talking, like all the time. And the older she gets, I think she gets even better at it. And I don't know if this is just remnant leftover thinking from Bull Durham. I'm not really sure, but you just always have this. She has a very seductive way about talking. I don't know if that's just me. Let me know in the comments below if I have a problem and I need to go see a therapist. Um, but the best part for me, the highlight of the whole damn thing, was after it was in the second period, after she went back to her seat in the stands. A puck got shot hard as hell to where Pierre Maguire was, and he had to sink himself back in behind the glass, and really just he crunched himself up. And then they showed her reacting to it, and she was like, "Oh my God, I was standing there. I could have been killed." Like she had that look on her face, like son of a, like nobody told her like, "Hey, pucks go, you could be seriously injured." That's why I asked when we were on the air and I was told she was in between the boards, like, does she have a helmet on? Because it can get pretty dangerous down there. And Pierre's an expert. He's been down there for years now, so he kind of knows how to react. Somebody just coming into that for the first 5 minutes is not going to know how to react. So that was a little dangerous putting Susan Sarandon in between the boards like that. I got to say, it was a cool move. I applaud it, but she definitely could have gotten injured. And her facial expression in the second period when the puck did go into that area just said everything. It really, really did say everything. But I think it was cool. And look for this throughout the league. You'll start to see this now. I've seen it with Vince Vaughn and the Blackhawks. It's something the National Hockey League does. They ramp up around playoff time. They'll start to do a little bit more of this. Obviously Miss Mike Fisher does it down there in Nashville. And there's a lot of organic endorsement from these celebrities, and there's a lot of super fan things, and I think it's just cool and fun to enjoy, and I think it's good for the league. Look, one of the things that the National Basketball Association realized early on, if we put the celebrities down courtside, the Lakers were famous for this. Jack Nicholson and all these guys, during the 90s, 80s, 90s, nobody paid for those seats. They got put down there. They were put on the big screen. They wrote articles about it. That was not organic whatsoever. That was all planned. That was all marketing. If we bring celebrities down to our game, people will be talking about the games. Did you see so and so at the Laker game? Did you see this one at the Laker game? The Kings have tried to do this in a major way. They've tried to emulate that. It's a little bit different. Basketball is a little bit more open to it because you can literally sit right there on the court. You sit on the glass for a hockey game. It's cool and you can get a good shot at the person, but the boards and the crowd sort of preclude you from having that, like, oh, a celebrity is like right there, sort of a feel. Look for Kevin Hart drunk off his rear end to go center ice if the Flyers make a run here, just like he did for his Eagles. I'm predicting it right now. Drunk Kevin Hart will try and accept the Stanley Cup from Gary Bettman if the Flyers should get there. Lastly, I want to leave you with this because we do not talk a lot about the Arizona Coyotes, and that is a shame. But it is important to note about your Arizona Coyotes. I think they've won 11 of 16. I just saw it. I just had it in front of me. Forgive me. Um, and Rick Tockett's mom passed, so obviously condolences to him, and they're dealing with all of that stuff. But you look at this Coyote team, and they've had an awful year. They're going to miss the playoffs for the sixth straight season, which is really, really tough for a struggling franchise. But I think they've won 11 out of their last 16. Oh, they're 11-3. Yeah, they're 11-3-2 in the past 16 games. That's pretty exciting. That's something to build off of. You know, it's tough. Duclair was there, it wasn't working. He gets shipped out. You hear about Domi and all the rumors there. You got to have guys that want to play there. I think getting Antiranta under contract is going to be a really important thing for the Arizona Coyotes. Um, Clayton Keller is a huge step forward for them, and they got to really build off of that momentum. But there's nothing stopping the Arizona Coyotes from being a success. I want everybody to keep that in mind. Like, any team can build and any team can win, especially in this era of the National Hockey League. You draft a player, you honestly have him for a good 5 to 7 years. Like, it's rare if a team loses a player in that first 5 to 7 year period. You have the 3 year entry level contract, and you have 2 extensions as a restricted free agent after that. Most of the time, they don't have a ton of arbitration rights. Um, so you really can hold on to a team for quite a long time. Um, Nothing against Rick Tocchet, but I love Dave Tippett, and I was really he was the guy for me that kept that team together, that was putting them in the right direction. And when they lost Tippett, I feel like that extended their build a little bit more. Islander fans have been bugging me like crazy to tackle the Garth Snow thing. I'm still trying to get a special guest that will dedicate a whole show to this. But I've been thinking about the John Tavares and the Garth Snow issue, and there's a lot there, and we're going to do a whole show based on that. But I did see something pretty interesting from Jason Chimera. They did a piece on him on NHL.com, and essentially it said that he wanted to win a Stanley Cup, and that's why he went to Anaheim. Now, nowhere in the piece did he ask for a trade, but it was kind of alluded to that he asked for a trade. What pisses me off about this is, if that's true, it's a slight signal from Garth Snow that they were kind of giving up. Now, he wasn't in the lineup, so you could argue he wasn't in the lineup. Who cares? And sure, that might be part of it, but I can't help but think that you wouldn't want all hands on deck, even if you're scratching a guy a ton. We see this right now in Toronto. Matt Martin can't get into the lineup. You better believe, come the first round of the playoffs, who if they're playing Boston, I think they're going to play Boston, right? If it gets rough with Marchand, you better believe Matt Martin finds his way back into the lineup. So, if you have a player that's been struggling to make the lineup all year, there's always an opportunity for them to get into the playoffs, especially if they're a tougher guy. Um, so I don't know. I kind of saw that, and to me, the issue with Garth Snow is he didn't feel like there was no tomorrow with Tavares. He didn't feel the pressure of having to make a move to help convince Tavares to stay. And that, to me, is a big mistake. Prior to this, I never really felt like Garth Snow should lose his job because I don't think it's smart, despite all his bad general managing. I don't think when you're trying to sign your franchise player, it's a good thing to fire the general manager that drafted him. Just based on that alone. Now I kind of feel different about it, and I'll explain why in depth in an upcoming episode here on the Hockey Talk Show. Let me know in the comments below if you like the quick hit. Thumbs up on the video, of course. I'll be trolling the comments big time on this since we can't have that live interaction. And then we'll get back to the live show most likely tomorrow right here at hockeytalkshow.com and facebook.com/hockeytalkshow. Same thing on YouTube's, and follow us on Twitter at Hockey Talk Show. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, probably didn't make much of a difference to you because it was just audio only. And what do you care if it's pre-recorded or live because you're listening recorded anyway? Doesn't matter. Make sure you guys rate and review. There is a ton of people that are listening to the podcast each and every single day. I'm talking to you right now, podcast listener, and you're listening and you're not rating and reviewing, and that really hurts the show. You got to rate and review because it helps drive our numbers up. And the download numbers are killer. They're really, really encouraging and great, and they keep growing, but nobody's leaving any reviews. So we really need to get those numbers up. If you can, that would be amazing. All right, that's it for me. I think we covered most of the news. See, it's kind of a quiet, slow day because it just it's the home stretch of the National Hockey League season. There's going to be so much to talk about over the next couple of weeks, but it's a little bit of a quiety lull time, so I thought this is a great time to do a quick hit. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next shift.